The following Victory Over Violence special is brought to you by Rector Construction, Lands Inc., Tapman's Towing, Shields Auto Group, and ServPro. WCIA3 News, in partnership with Champaign County Community Coalition, present Victory Over Violence Town Hall.
And welcome, everyone, to our very first Victory Over Violence Town Hall. We are live from the Holiday Inn Conference Center in Champaign. We are joining the Champaign County Community Coalition's monthly meeting with a live audience. We are grateful that so many of you showed up today. We are digging into a topic that has become an unfortunate fixture in our newscast, the rise in crime. It is not a problem that is unique to Champaign, but tonight we are focusing on that community. On our panel tonight, I will be asking questions of these four people. We have Regina Kreider, who is the Executive Director of the Youth and Family Peer Support Alliance, supporting families in Champaign County. Dustin Harmon, the Champaign County Sheriff, representing law enforcement in Champaign County. James Tiger Corbin, Resource Outreach Coordinator for First Followers, mentoring people who were behind bars ease back into life. And Sheldon Turner with the Champaign School District, in charge of the Operation Hope and the Goal Getters programs, working directly with high school students, getting them on the right track. Thank you to all of you for being here. We're going to start with you, Sheriff Harmon. We have heard, right, on our Facebook page, so many people have an idea about why there is this rise in violence. Why do you think it's happening?
So obviously this is a very intricate and interwoven reasoning for all of this violence I believe is going on right now, and it's multifaceted. So, you know, there are, you know, lots of problems out in the community as far as Facebook is, for an example. You know, we've had several instances before, and I would kind of, in some instances, say immaturity in some, you know, in some cases, where we're seeing feuds by somebody sees something on Facebook and then they're upset about that, and instead of having a productive way to get out their aggression, then they turn to a violent way. You know, we've seen several instances that would be a contributing factor to the violence we're seeing in some cases.
And that's what the state's attorney, Julia Reitz, has told us. It's not necessarily gang violence, but it is these social media beefs or relationship issues. And back in the day, maybe people would use their fists to come to some type of resolution, but because there is such easy access to guns, they're using weapons.
Sure, and you know, the thing we're seeing is that it's not just one instance that happens. There's a lot of retaliation that happens back and forth, which just really it keeps the cycle going.
Now, James, you are on the other, have been on the other side of law enforcement. You have done time. You are in that wheelchair because you were shot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why do you think, from your perspective, you work with people who are coming out of prison, you work with them to get them back into the community, why do you think there's this violence?
I'm gonna piggyback a lot. Some of what the sheriff is saying. Social media is adding to this, you know, as well as loss of hope, lack of resources, lack of underemployment. You know, these young men want to have more, but you have mostly these service industry jobs that you could, what was the study? You can't even afford to have a one-bedroom now on one job, right? So, and then we're dealing with the lack of positive male role models there. There's a brain drain in the community. Over-policing has done a lot of this, you know, nothing against you, Sheriff, but over-policing has done a lot of this, and we tried to lock our way out of this, lock our way up out of this. And all we did was put people behind bars, spend an exorbitant amount of money, and now there's no father in the house. So who does this young man get to talk to? And then there's a lack of reflection in the school district. As a young black man growing up, even in Chicago now, we did have black teachers there, but not a lot. Now down here is mostly white, middle class, women. So who is this young man? Who do he see himself as? So a lot of them look into these negative figures like these rappers or an NBA player. There's no reflection there. So all these things are attributed. Then we're talking about trauma and loss of hope. Now, like you said, I got shot. I did not, in the beginning, I did not see myself living past 25 for a while. So when I made to my 24th birthday, that was like a big celebration. Now, that right when that happened, a week later, I'm at Northwestern Hospital with a bullet in my back. Was that an accident? Did I cause that? Or was that something that was foreseen? So they're seeing the same thing. You know, these young men, these young individuals are not dumb. And COVID has only made this worse. It's exacerbated the problem, and they don't see any hope or future. And then once this thing starts, it's hard to stop it. It's contagious, just like what the sheriff said. It's like a virus.
And you called it a twisted perspective on manhood.
Yeah, it is. It's a false narrative a lot of them sort of adopted because, again, there's no figure there. So they figure that, you know, getting shot, that's like a badge of honor. Going to jail, that's like a badge of honor. But it shouldn't be that way, you know. To some degree, that's like, don't mess with me. Being known as a shooter is something that's respected in the community because this young man is fearful. He don't want no one to bother him. So someone is being known as a shooter, they said, well, don't mess with him, that's a shooter. You know, and that's where it's twisted at, you know. But and that's where we come in at, a lot of us older guys in the middle. We got to come in and reset this thing right.
Sheldon, are you hearing that in the school district?
Yeah. So I lost my dad when I was 13. And so I grew up in East St. Louis. And so I often look at these young men that I work with and talk to them about identity. The first thing I ask you is, who are you? Some of them will say their name and they have their heads down. And I say, who are you? I want you to tell me your name. You know, who are you? Whose are you? And so, you know, the identity, learning the identity is a problem for a lot of them because they don't really know who they are. And if they lose the father figure or, you know, the man in their life or somebody that's a role model or their first man that they have seen or get to know, and they don't have that, it becomes an identity crisis that they don't really figure out who they really are.
Now, Regina, you work with families directly, and a lot of people want to blame families and parents and single parent homes. How do you, what kind of challenges then do you face when with your work?
So parents are oftentimes stigmatized. People want to point the finger and say, well, if you would only just do this, this, and this. And of course, any parent who loves their child is going to do the very best that they can for them. Sometimes if you just haven't had the experience yourself or had that same type of support growing up as a parent, you can only pass along what you know, right? And so the challenges that we're looking at are parents, a lot of single parent, female-led households, people who are needing to work 2 and 3 jobs to maintain the household and paying for the bills and keeping food on the table and clothes on the kids' back. And so they may not be as present, which is not something that they have any control over, because if you're not taking care of your kid, then you're looking at losing your kid to the system. So it's a catch-22. And so families right now are just really facing those challenges of being able to have a parent that is present and being able to stay engaged and connected and being able to see as to what's going on with their child. And I think that that's one of the biggest areas that we could potentially miss, is if there's any anxiety or depression, or if there's bullying going on, or if they're feeling the pressures from the streets, how do they deal with that? So those are some of the challenges that I see happening within families.
So then how are you helping families?
So what we do is we provide peer support to parents because we know that parents need someone else who can say, hey, I get it, I understand, I've been where you are, let me be there as support for you. Because what ends up happening in these types of situations is that parents can begin to feel isolated, feel alone. And so when we come along, we're there to say, let me walk this path with you. Whatever it is that you need someone to go to the doctors with you, we'll do that. Go to court with you, we'll do that. If we need to help identify resources or just have a listening ear, it's an emotional professional support, someone else who has lived experience, that has walked in those shoes, and I can identify with what you're dealing with. I can identify the feelings, I can identify the experience, and there is nothing like someone else who gets you, who understands why you feel the way you feel.
And James, I mean, you are a model for that. You are trying to tell them, don't be where I was.
Yeah, we push that narrative, especially with First Followers, all the other groups I work with. We push that narrative to, I'm not going to allow you to come down this road. So we act as a sentinel, right? And show them a different way and get them some direction. A lack of direction is something else that's missing. Like, you know, Regina was saying, we got, you know, I was a young parent. I was only 16. You know, I became a parent. I'm not ready for that. I mean, who's ready for something like that? But, so you got a kid raising a kid. You know, so the adult or the parent is learning as the kid learns. So it's a lot of other factors to this. And I'm pretty sure Sheldon know a little bit more about that than I do, but yeah, we wanna block that.
Yeah, Sheldon, what are your groups doing?
Yeah, so how I deal with trauma, and for instance, I got 5 brothers. If one of my brothers gets shot and killed, how I deal with that may be different from how somebody else deal with that. You know, especially if you're a young black male. You know, we deal with things the way we've been taught, and so if we don't know our identity and we haven't been taught how to deal with conflict resolution and have those type of skills, then we're going to result to what we know. And so what we do in our program is we grab men that, like these men sit in the front that have been through some of these things like the young boys have been through, and they look just like these young boys, and so since they don't know who they never met their fathers, or if their father died young, like if they were young and their father passed away, or got incarcerated or whatever, then we have to have older men that have walked through went through the things that they are going through or see themselves going through, to help them make it through this journey. I mean, it's tough. I mean, living in fear also is tough too. You know, when you live in fear, you've seen the movie Fear. If you live in fear, it's kind of like you got to do whatever you need to do to survive. And so surviving for a 13 through 17-year-old nowadays is not how it was when we were coming up.
He said live in fear, and you all went, yep.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We hear that.
Yeah, fear is real. I didn't know how much fear I was living under until I actually, this sounds strange, but until I actually died on the hospital table and left my body. And then I didn't have any more fear, right? But that showed me the fear I lived up under. I didn't know that. You know, you don't know, trying to figure out a way to come up with the bills. You living check to check. You're making ends meet. You got to go out here to do this. All that is fear. All that is piled on top. All that is all that. But you don't realize that. It's like just being in the water, and you don't know that the pressure is on you that heavy until it was gone, until I was released. Right. And then when I came back, I didn't feel it anymore, and I recognize it now. I know it, and I say, okay, I know what's going on.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break. They're doing the hard work. When we come back, how you can get involved. Don't go back.
Center.
Victory Over Violence Town Hall continues now.
Welcome back. You've heard about the challenges, what's being done. Now we want to get to some solutions. Sheriff, how do you get people to care, to participate in all of the programs that are out there?
Well, so I think it's multifaceted. So we have to have programs given at the right time, and we have to have the enforcement aspect when programs don't work. I would encourage anybody to get involved with Boys and Girls Club, anything like that, to be able to provide that mentoring relationship Tiger talked about. Because in my perfect world, programs would stop crime before they occur. We're not living in that perfect world, you know, and unfortunately we have to take enforcement action sometime. But just be involved in your community. Be involved, you know, this is all of our community. We're all living here. We all have a vested interest to make it a safe community for all of us. So take a little bit of time. Be involved in some of those things. If it does come to where a crime is in your neighborhood, chat with us. You know, sometimes people are hesitant about speaking with the police. They're worried about, you know, they don't trust us, or they're even worried about retaliation on them. So, you know, my deputies have been out, you know, walking around some of the neighborhoods where we patrol primarily, just getting to know the neighbors, and so they feel a little bit more comfortable with us if they ever do need to call us. But I think my #1 thing would be is just get out there, get involved, because all of us can make a difference in the end.
Because I feel perhaps one of your #1 hardest things that you're trying to combat, people not wanting to be witnesses.
Yep, and Jennifer, there's a lot of reasons for that, and there's a lot of justification that people have for that. But we cannot solve crimes unless we have information about those crimes. And so, you know, Crime Stoppers is a good resource to be anonymous if you want to report something. We don't care how you report it, but we need that information to help investigate the case.
Sheldon, it's all fine and good to have those programs at the Champaign School District, but if you can't reach those kids, I mean, how do you get them to participate if they don't want to listen?
Yeah. I'm going to say one thing, too.
Yeah.
If we rewrite the narrative on the media, because it's not always a negative thing that's going on with young black men, if we start pulling out more stories, we start pulling out more stories about the good things that's going on with, because we got successes. We got Gold Getters got some successes. Operation Hope got some successes. These men got success. We all got some successes. So if we're talking about victory, there are some victory stories. And so if we kind of push that and rewrite that narrative, I think that would also help my young men, because they seeing, hey, there's some good things going on in Champaign. Everybody ain't all negative, because negative feed negative. They get the negative energy. If I come in there with negative energy with them young men, they're going to give me negative energy. So I come in there with some positive energy. I get guys that got positive energy. So, you know, that positive energy with the young men and some of the young females as well, because sometimes we forget about the females, because, you know, the females, they struggling as well, too. So with Operation Hope, we're working with the females as well. So teaching them about positive things and just rewriting that narrative, because they deal with enough negative.
And also, I don't want to just have it be on the, we're not just talking about the black community. We have to be one community. Right. So the people watching who may not be part of that community, what can specifically they do? They're watching the stories, they see the crime on TV. What can anyone watching right now, how can they engage in trying to fix the problem? That's just to anyone. Yeah.
So we have a collaboration effort with United Way in the city of Champaign, and we always have opportunities to have you know, folks come from United Way to speak to our students. We show diversity through a lot of the programs that we have, whether it's financial literacy, or if it's something, you know, like for instance Saturday we took some students to the game, the homecoming game. Some of those young men and young ladies never been to a University of Illinois game before, and we got free tickets. So, you know, and so we enjoy, and they enjoyed the homecoming, you know, and all of that stuff. And they were like, you know, there's a turn, I've never been to a game before. So, you know, just being able to provide for you know, opportunities like that would be great.
I would like to add
I know
that.
Regina's got a list. I've been waiting for somebody to ask me this question.
Right, I do. I actually have three, actually. So when you're working with families, it's important to understand that when you have a situation where there's gun violence, there are going to be some unplanned expenses and things that happen. And families, I believe, need access to, and we need to establish, if possible, in the community, some flexible funds that can be attributed to every family, maybe $1,000 minimum. Then that way you can address some of the immediate needs that need to be addressed that are unplanned for. So mental health counseling, maybe doctor's appointments, lost wages. Those things are very real, and they impact a family. A family becomes like literally frozen, polarized when this type of incident happens. And so you still got to maintain a household, and sometimes you need that financial assistance to be able to do that. So donations to establishing a fund to be able to assist some of that immediate crisis intervention that takes place right at the beginning when that happens. Another thing I think that Champaign County is already primed for, we have talked about systems of care, we have talked about coordinated services. We've been doing that work for a good 10, 15 plus years here. For us to actually get together as providers, as community members, to coordinate services for families. And what that means is that we're bringing families to the table, we're bringing the providers to the table, we're bringing natural supports to the table, and we're creating a plan to help address whatever the needs are for the families. And that's something that we have been working on and that we can continue to do. And then also just having peer supporters for parents who are navigating those systems of juvenile justice, the criminal justice system, whatever is going on. A parent can feel so isolated, alone, depressed, all of these things that are going on with them. So we need more advocacy type, lived experience positions that people can get involved with. And so and it's developing a whole nother workforce, because there's times when people want you to get involved in things, bringing your lived experience to the table, but they don't want to incentivize it or pay you to do that. I think these are paid positions, because then you have people who are dedicated to the work of serving families. And so we need people who can support parents with lived experience. We need people who have navigated the criminal justice system to be there for families to say, okay, this is what you can expect in an investigation. This is why this is going to happen, and this is how, things are going to play out. If it's, dealing with law enforcement, how do you interact with them? So I think that advocacy, peer support, flex funds, and care coordination or coordinated services are necessary.
Leaders in the room, I'm sure someone was taking notes, right? Writing all of that down. James, you have some ideas about how the entire Champaign community can help.
Well, I'm going to take what Regina said, and I'm going to take what Sheldon said, because Sheldon spoke proactively, getting involved, taking these young men out, exposing them to positive things. That's proactive. The H3 model is what I'm pushing now, is the harm, harm, hope, and healing. Those three components need to be involved. Take everything what Regina said, bring it together into a coalition where we working as a unit now, and have a strategic strike. Now we're gonna get somewhere, because we got agencies working in silos, and that's a problem. We need to be accountable now. See, and now we get together, and then we got cross-team connections across team, and we saying, okay, well, what's wrong with this individual family? Because you see, it's never one issue. I help people all the time, and I'm always finding places for them to live, but it's never just one issue. It may be drugs related, it's trauma. So I need help from other agencies. So I reach out. I go work with all these different agencies out here. I'm working like 5 different agencies at the same time, because I need that type of help. But now it's time to bring it together under one head.
I want to end with the hope. We wanted to talk about that there is hope. Right. There is an end in sight. Do you feel like there is an end in sight to what is happening right now? Sheriff?
I do, because we are all working together. Unfortunately, we have to have that law enforcement aspect, but we don't that law enforcement aspect is not the entire answer any more than all programs is the entire answer either. Tiger and I were talking about that before we started. Groups like this and groups, I'm in meetings all day long. Champaign County has shown me that there is hope and we're going to get through this because we're working together.
Okay, so hopefully you watching, you have gotten a different perspective perhaps than you had. You now have an idea of where you can get started if you want to do something. Instead of just sitting at home and typing on Facebook, you're so sick of what is happening. You just heard 10 minutes of how to change things. We have to do this together. So this is the first step. The people in this room want you to be involved as well. Don't just let them do the hard work. So please, go to WCIA.com. We have links to all of their groups. We have numbers. We can do this. The conversation also, I want this room with me all the time. I love the support and the energy we're getting here. So please also go to WCIA.com. The conversation will continue. We will be streaming live there. Thank you very much, all of you. We're going to do this again.
Okay.
And thank all of you for being here. And thank you for watching.
This has been Victory Over Violence Town Hall from WCIA3 News in partnership with Champaign County Community Coalition. Victory Over Violence is brought to you by Rector Construction, Lands Inc., Tatman's Towing, Shields Auto Group, and ServPro.